Man, oh man, it is a terrible time to be a Kamala Harris supporter, okay? You have a lot of the heavy-hitting veteran Democrats leaving. And when I say veterans, I don't actually mean veterans. I mean people who have been a longtime Democrat. They're leaving, okay? You even have people like Bill Maher giving up on Kamala Harris. It's just wild. And we have a comment here. Shout out to this person, Umodo or Denor. Anyways, Bill Maher is like a broken clock. He's right twice a day and wrong the rest of the time. Pretty interesting comment. And they said Bill Maher is like a broken clock. He belongs in the trash. He's a slow clock, constantly behind. He's a clock with no hands, always wrong. All right, so there we have it. You see how everybody's feeling about this. So before we get into this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share these videos. And if you're new here, welcome to the King Squad. This is the best reaction channel on YouTube. Shout out to the King Squad family, the King Squad elites. You guys are the bomb.com. I hope everybody's having a great and prosperous day. Okay, be sure to share these videos. We're here to get the truth out so more people can see what's going on out here. I will be giving my commentary periodically throughout the video, more so in the back end, so stay tuned for that. Let's get right into this video. Let's go.
Folks, so like I said, I mean, you exist on social media, you hear all of these leftists continuing to gloat of how great Kamala Harris is doing, and then, of course, there's reality.
It's 25 days before the election, and I gotta say, it's not looking that great for the Democrats. I mean, this is not a good sign, you know, when you have an
Dang.
African-American candidate. You probably shouldn't be having to
She's not African-American. She's not black.
shore up your support among black men, but that's what's going on. Tim Walz is headlining a voter engagement event tonight with black men. Who better to connect with young black men than Tim Walz? Because apparently Michael Bublé was unavailable. Meanwhile, Kim Kardashian's like, hello. But no, Obama even came out yesterday to scold. I mean, he was scolding. Well, I don't know. At the last month of the convention, he was no
Who was clapping?
scolding. Now he's scolding. He was saying, you got to vote for Harris. But of course, for some young, especially the younger black men, it's a tough choice. Harris is African American, but Trump has a sneaker line. So I was mentioning in the monologue, there's some sobering statistics for the Democrats this week about the election, which is only a little over 3 weeks away. I'm taking this from Andrew Sullivan's column. He says at this point in 2020, Biden, with far fewer resources than Harris has, was 10 points ahead of Trump. And in 2016, Hillary was 6 up. And she is only 2.6 up. Pennsylvania, Biden was up 7 at this point. She's up 1. Michigan, Biden was up 8, and she's tied. Now, we're all in our bubbles, okay? And that's one reason I'm glad you're here, because a lot of people are saying, I don't care about any of this. How could anyone think about voting for Trump? And that's why you're here, Buck, to answer that question. And we're going to get to that. But it does not seem like she is closing the deal. This week she did a media blitz she went to Howard Stern and Stephen Colbert and The View, places where, you know, I would say the ass is pre-kissed. Am I wrong?
No.
Did that help or hurt?
No, I think Kamala Harris just had the worst week of her campaign so far and has been trending downward for quite some time now. Donald Trump, at this point, I think is very likely to almost certain to win the election, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell people why. I'll remember that, by the way, why that is. And I think there are two things that are weighing her down. First of all, what led up to her campaign. And I'll give a quick, I know it's 4 years, but I'll give a quick version of it. Kamala Harris has to explain, while she's a part of the Biden administration, second in command, you had some of the worst statistics you could possibly imagine as a politician. Worst inflation in 40 years while Biden is president. First time you have over 100,000 opioid deaths while Biden is president. Probably the worst open border in the history of the country, 8 million at least, and that's not including the 500,000 a year that are gotaways. So roughly 10 million people, you could call it, in 4 years entering illegally, almost all of whom are going to stay. Now, she doesn't want to throw Biden under the bus for this, and she didn't want to tell everybody that he's a dementia patient, so she decided that she was going to go along. It's just the facts, everybody. You get mad at me. Okay. She decided that she was going to go along with this until it was no longer possible because of the debate. And that's what she inherited. I haven't even gotten to her campaign yet, but I can't.
Well, and there you have it. You know, it always starts off the same, right? We're doing our analysis, and I try to be as fair as possible. I tend to give Donald Trump a little bit more benefit of the doubt in terms of my polling analysis, but I do that not because I'm partisan, not because I'm delusional, but more so because the polls have been wrong and generally are wrong. Of course, 2020 was a little bit of an exception, so it's harder to do that now. But you get what I mean. I try to analyze the numbers as effectively as possible and as honestly as possible. And so usually, you know, we tend to be on trends pretty quickly. Trends that the left, of course, denies and claims are MAGA chud copium, or they go as far to say conspiracy theories. That's when you know they're really losing. And then, of course, reality tends to kick in probably within a month to 2 month delay. And then all of a sudden, they start sounding the alarm bells and saying all the things that we've been saying. We go from conspiracy theorists to, I guess, trendsetters, right? And here we go again. Same exact thing. Bill Maher's pointing out what we've been saying. Everyone wants to sing Kamala's praise, how great she's doing in the national polling, but on the average, she's been up by, 2 points? Nationally? That's not a path towards victory, that's a path towards disaster. And I've been saying that since day one, even during the initial media blitz where everybody was panicking. It's time to get real serious. Kamala Harris is a serious threat. Remember all those people freaking out on Twitter? I kept calling them out. Remember all the Ron DeSantis people coming out of the woodworks? I told you Trump was unelectable. I mean, there was some serious panic going on, but I kept saying she's up 2 points nationally. And in the Rasmussen polls and Trafalgar polls, we're still seeing the exact same results. What's the panic? Joe Biden, same time during the 2020 election, was up 9 points, 7 points. I mean, she started to crater towards the end. I think she was up like 3.8 or roughly 4 points in the average right ahead of election day, but still better than Kamala. And if you looked at the swing state polling data, you know, back then, if you were doing analysis, you would probably think, man, there's no way Trump can win this. He's behind big time everywhere. But now this is the outlook. I mean, look at the RCP average just for top battleground states. Trump has now taken the lead in the average in every single state except for Wisconsin. And to be honest, Wisconsin looks like it's trending towards Trump. And again, it's a state where Trump is expected to do better than the polling averages are indicating. Look at October 12th, 2020. Biden was up 6.3 in the average. We can go ahead and take a look simply just by clicking the button and look at this. Biden was up by 11, 10, 8, 8. Huge, astronomical leads. And in the end, what ended up happening, even with all the Democrat electioneering, let's call it, I think Joe Biden took the state of Wisconsin by 13,000 votes, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. A little more than 13,000. 13,000 might have been Georgia. Just a little bit over 20,000 votes. A 0.6% margin. So the polls on average showed Biden winning by nearly 7 points, but the actual result was 0.7. There was a 6% Biden-favored error in the aggregate data. I mean, what does that tell you? That tells you that now with Kamala Harris leading in the average by 0.3 and likely even less as we get closer to election day, if the polls are wrong like they were back in 2020, Trump could take the state by over 6 points, theoretically. And this is the outlook that Democrats are celebrating. You people out of your damn minds, you're delusional. You're so delusional that Bill Maher looks like the rational one. It's actually insane. Bill Maher is the common sense guy. Not because he is, he's an emotional wreck, but because, you know, the rest of you leftoids have freaking lost the plot. And the copium this year is just incredible. I mean, I really don't think they realize how bad the outlook is for them. I'm not saying this election's over, Trump's gonna win, but it's just not looking good. And it's crazy to me that the left is looking at all this polling data and thinking, oh, we're on track for victory. I don't know, I don't think so. And speaking of this incredible copium, I think the craziest copium of all is coming from all the early ballot data. We're getting some early mail-in ballot data coming out of a lot of states here, which Democrats are obviously overperforming in. And so you got all these leftist analysts all over X tweeting stuff like, oh, we're doing so well in early voting. But again, they're not drawing back to historical data. Sure, Democrats are ahead, but Democrats are far behind where they were in 2020, where the election, the Electoral College, was only won by 40,000 votes. I keep seeing tweets like this. Data from TargetSmart suggests that Democrats are running away with early voting. This is consistent with data showing robust turnout in overwhelmingly Democratic Detroit and Philadelphia. Oh, we're running away with the early vote. But that isn't the case at all. Michael Pruzer's been doing some incredible work, and pretty much across the board, we're seeing Republicans actually overperform in early mail-in voting. North Carolina early voting update. Regular voter registration is now closed in North Carolina, and this was the net change over the last 7 days. Republicans plus 11,300, Democrats plus 5,400, others plus 14,700. And on the return side, we're still on track to finish with about a Democrat +8 return edge over Republicans. +8. You don't need a degree in statistics or you don't need to be a big brain political analyst to realize that a +8 early voting advantage for Democrats is abysmal, considering what we saw in 2020. And we're seeing the same thing in Pennsylvania. He says, I've been tracking PA absentee requests and returns since the primary in 2020. And today was the first time in just over 4 years that Republicans outrequested Democrats in mail absentee for the previous day. He breaks down the total requests here as he's been tracking from mid-September, and look at the breakdown, 61% Democrat and 27% Republican. That's significantly down from the 2020 results, where Democrat requests were at 73% and Republican at 19%. And back during the 2022 midterms, where Democrats were at 69% and Republicans at 21%. Democrats are claiming these numbers are good for them, but obviously that isn't the case at all. Democrats are lagging behind where they were in highly contentious, extremely close elections. And just to make matters worse on top of that, mail-in ballot requests across the board are down, meaning the early mail-in ballot vote is going to be less significant this time, theoretically, than it was then. And so you got Democrats underperforming in early voting, then you got Republicans who are going to flood the polls on election day. I don't know. Doesn't exactly seem like a recipe for success now, does it? That's the reality, and it's becoming undeniable. And now you got leftist talking heads like Bill Maher essentially sounding the alarm. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like.
So there we have it. Shout out to the liberal hive mind. Okay, always dropping dope content. So yeah. What do you guys think about that? I think Bill Maher, I thought it was Bill Maher. I apologize. But then again, do I? But yeah, Bill Maher, he started to sound like he had some common sense there for a second, seeing it, which is rare. And somebody says the only thing black about Kamala is her soul. Wow. Oh my gosh. And heart. Oh my gosh. Somebody said she would have to have a heart for that to be true. It's interesting. The most important thing is I'm not telling you guys who to vote for. I'm just focused on showing you guys exactly what's going on out here, okay? And it's important that people are informed voters and not just voting just off these identity politics or off the lies that are being pushed by the mainstream media. So it's important, and it's also important that everybody goes out and actually votes, brings a friend, brings a relative, all that kind of stuff, because what you don't want is a certain group stealing the election, and we all know who that group is, okay? That being, you know, the Kamala Harris supporters. So I'm going to say it like that. I'm not telling anybody who to vote for, but yeah, it's pretty obvious, you know, that they could still try to steal the election. So it's important that people actually, you know, show up and take action to actually vote. So that is that, you guys. Comment down below what your thoughts are about all of this. And as always, thank you to everyone who watched this video all the way through. Shout out to the King Squad, the King Squad Elites, the King Squad family. You guys are the bomb.com. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.